Financing is needed to start a business and ramp it up to profitability. There are several sources to consider when looking for start up a business. But first you need to consider how much money you need and when you will need it. The financial need of a business will vary according to the type and size of business. For example, processing businesses are usually capital intensive, requiring large amount of capital. Retail businesses usually require less capital. A general question might come in your mind that why businesses need money. Money is required to buy the premises and equipment. To start a business, money is essential as initial expenditure. To fund continuously business activities and money for flowing to expand the business. Next, let's study what are the sources of funds. In general, a business may have two major sources of fund, which are needed for its business operation. They are internal sources of fund and external sources of fund. The internal sources has been divided into three parts, which are profit, depreciation, and sales of assets. Firstly, profit is the after-tax profit earned and retained by a business, which is an important and inexpensive source of finance. For example, the retained earning of the business. A large part of finance is funded from profit. Depreciation, the financial provision for replacement of worn-out machinery and equipment. Nearly all businesses uses depreciation as a source of funds. Sales of assets are those activities that a business sells of assets to raise the fund for a business. The external sources of fund are short-term and long-term, which are further classified as in external long-term sources of fund includes share capital. It is for limited company. It is often considered as permanent capital as it is not repaid by the business. But the shareholder can have the share in the profit, which is called as dividend. There are three types of shares. These are ordinary shares, preference shares, and deferred shares. The ordinary shares are the most common type of share and most risky share since no guarantee of dividend. Preference shares, a owner receives a fixed rate of return. They carry less risk because of shareholders are entitled to the dividend before the ordinary shares. Deferred shares are often held by the founders of the company. Another external long-term sources is loan, which is a money which is borrowed for long period of time by a business or which is called as loan capital. There are four major type of loan capital. These are debentures, mortgage, loan specialist funds, and government assistance. Let's look at these subcategory in detail. Debentures. The holder of a debenture is a creditor of the company, not an owner. Holders are paid with the agreed fixed rate of return, but having no voting rights. Mortgage. These are long-term bank loans from banks or from other financial institutions. Loan specialist funds. These are venture capitalists or specialists who provide funds for small businesses, especially for high-tech investment projects in their startup stage. There are also individuals who invest in such businesses, which are often called as business angels. Government assistance. To encourage small businesses and high employment, government may be involved in the providing finance for the business. As discussed before, external source is divided into two parts. Another subpart is short-term sources, which are bank overdraft, bank loan, leasing, credit cards, and trade credits. These sources of funds are the funds which are less than 1 year for maturity. They are less stable sources of fund for businesses. Bank overdraft is the amount to be overdrawn depends on the need of business at the time. Bank loan is a loan which requires a rigid agreement between the borrower and the bank. The amount borrowed must be repaid over a certain period or in regular installments. Leasing allows business to buy plant, machinery or equipment without paying large sum of money immediately. Debt financing involves borrowing funds from creditors with the stipulation of repaying the borrowed fund plus interest at a specified future time. For the creditor, the reward for providing the debt financing is the interest on the amount lent to the borrower. Government program. Federal, state and local government have programs designed to assist the financing of new venture and small businesses. A lease is a method of obtaining the use of asset for business without using debt or equity financing. It is legal agreement between two parties that specify the term and condition for the rental use of tangible resources such as building and equipment. Now let's understand factors affecting the choice of funds. These factors are cost of fund, purpose of funds, status and size of businesses, financial situation of a firm. Cost of fund in terms of interest payment and other expenses are long term and short term. Purpose of fund such as building of a new plant is usually financed by mortgage or share capital, while the purchase of raw material by trade credit or bank overdraft. Status and size of businesses. It is for long firm. There are more sources of finance and often with the lower interest rate. Financial situation of a firm. A business in poor financial situation is forced to pay high interest rate for loans, and the bank often requires security or collateral for their financing. Other sources are debt financing involve borrowing funds from creditors. For the creditors, the reward for providing the debt financing is the interest on the amount lent to the borrower. Debt financing may be secured and unsecured. Secured debt had collateral. Consequently, unsecured debt does not have collateral and places the lender in a less secure position. Equity financing means exchanging a portion of the ownership of the business for a financing investment in the business. The ownership stake resulting from an equity investment allows the investor to share in the capital's profit. Equity involves a permanent investment in a company and it is not repaid by the company at the later date. You can see the pictures for better understanding where equity and debt are fundamental sources of fund. Let's look at the comparison between the two sources. The comparison is made on the basis of maturity, claim on assessment, and income and right to a voice in management. Thank you.